Hello everyone and welcome to Tips, Tricks, and Talk. I'm so excited to see you. Today we are going to talk about a very important worldwide issue and kind of see if we can come up with some solutions, and I'll give you a few suggestions. So the questions that I've been receiving are twofold. One is, what is the summer slide? What is the academic summer slide? And what is the COVID slide? And let me just give you a little bit of background information as well as sort of a definition that I would give you for both of those. So the summer slide is typically what happens over the summer when students don't have that education going on consistently, and they tend to forget a few things that they've learned from the previous year. And so when we return in the fall, teachers will typically assess students, kind of figure out where they're at, and kind of go from there, although the curriculum remains the same. So if it's a first grader at the end of the summer, they will be ready for second grade regardless. They will get supports and everything as needed depending on how great the summer slide is. And typically the summer slide's not so big that we can't close those gaps for most students. Usually we can just reteach that information and then students are right back where they need to be. The COVID slide, however, is a completely different issue. And this has affected everyone worldwide, as you can imagine. And in fact, statistics have shown that last year in North America, or during COVID, during the pandemic, in North America, students were only in school 8% of the time. And the rest of the time they may have had a hybrid or an online presence, but because schools were not really comfortable about what they were going to do, nor were decisions made, students lost nearly a whole year's worth of education during COVID. Now, in some parts of the world, that actually accounts for 6% of a student's lifetime education. So if you start thinking about elementary students, especially when they are gaining the foundational skills of reading and math and all of those things, missing a year of school, no matter how hard parents and school districts have tried to keep them up on it, could be a lot of missing education. Now, what's going to happen here in the fall when we go back to school, those students will be placed in whatever grade they're supposed to be in. It doesn't really matter how much school they've actually missed out on. And so what I would like to consider as we're having this conversation is we don't know what the next fall school year is going to look like. Many people have been vaccinated. Students are still not able to get vaccinated. So what happens if your student is exposed to COVID, some variant of COVID, and then they have to quarantine? That means they will be missing out on school for those 2 weeks that they're quarantined. They may not pass that COVID on to anyone else, but the problem is their educational journey will be interrupted. So I urge everyone at the beginning of the school year, be proactive. Your school district may already have a plan. Maybe it's we're going to be in person, or maybe we have a backup plan for if something happens. But we can't always rely on the system to take care of the needs of our specific children. And so I'm really urging you to have something in your back pocket. Have a curriculum that is ready, have some plan in place in case things close down again, or that schools are not up to where they need to be for the whole entire school year. We don't want to have any more of our students fall further behind and get increasingly larger gaps. Those are actually exponentially increased every year that students miss school. And it's no fault of anyone's, it's just the way that it has happened this year. So I urge you, please have a plan in your back pocket for making sure your students do not lose any education this school year. It's really important that those gaps be closed and that your student continues to learn at the pace that he or she needs to learn, so that those gaps don't get bigger and then the struggle become harder. Some things to look for if you are not sure if your student has a gap or not is when school starts again, if your student is afraid to start asking questions of the teacher, if your student isn't understanding things, if maybe your student is really struggling with a concept that they had known before. These are all kind of red flags that your student might have a learning gap somewhere in there, an educational gap. And that's when you can just step up and you will have resources to be able to help support that skill and close that gap as quickly as possible. And that is one thing that Connected Planet Learning does. So we have a full curriculum. It is available for you to use. There are tons of free resources. So if you do not feel like you need to enroll your student in a full online course, that is totally fine. There are all kinds of resources, workbooks, printable things that you can use to support your student. And of course, reach out if you have any questions. So I hope that helps answer the question. If you still have questions or you have other concerns that you've thought of as you've been listening, please don't hesitate to email me, connectedplanetlearning@gmail.com. You can also check out my school page where you can find the resources, and you can click on the link below. It's Learn Worlds, and you can see the little purple icon. It says Connected Planet Learning. Anyway, have a great day. It was good meeting with you, and please let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.